Our lifetime.
Hello, everyone.
What is Hapatarian?
So what is Hapa? So when you put together Hapatarians, what is that?
You know the thing.
They're here to awkward it up for you guys.
Which is a very interesting and beautiful mix of humanity.
Anyone who has a podcast,
you're an extremist.
Shut up!
All right, let's get to it. Hey, what's happening? And welcome to the Hapatarian Show, the #1 show hosted by someone who hasn't seen that gay sex senate video and never will. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and leave a review telling us how much you love the Hapa ethnostate. Our guest today is someone who would never be caught dead wearing fleece in a Four Seasons. He's the partner and co-founder of Beck & Stone. It's Andrew Beck. How are you doing, sir?
Shane, good to be here.
Hope you enjoyed that intro.
It's the greatest intro ever, and you are absolutely right. I am not a fleece wearer.
Let's go. All right. So enough with the quick, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Let's get right into it. So serious business here, Andrew. This is real serious, okay? So we got to put our serious faces on and serious voice and everything like that. So
serious NPR voice. Well,
yes.
You see, democracy is sacred, and we must then die, as in you must die for it.
Yes, exactly. So brought you on because you did an interview with the Claremont Institute, and it was kind of the usual, who are you and what are you working on, and that sort of thing kind of in the beginning. And then as you get into the meat and potatoes of the thing, there was a few answers that you gave to the questions here. And so I'll read off the questions and then I'll read the answer, and then we'll kind of just go into more of a deep dive on that and, bicker and yell at each other about why you're wrong and why I'm right. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? If you don't love it, you can leave it.
Yeah. So the first question and answer that I wanted to talk about, and that's, do you believe free speech in America is in serious peril, and why? And so you said no. I believe we have remarkable means of communicating in this day and age. It was remarkable to witness the total failure of the would-be technocrats, to control and shape communication in the last few years. Whenever invisible forces that bind people with values must turn to the hard power of policing minutia, a system is suffering strain. When the policing fails, the system is next. I am less concerned about the means of communications being curtailed by hard power and more concerned with what it is that is being freely communicated under the influence of new invisible forces. So we'll just stop there and just briefly talk about what the meaning is behind invisible forces and what do you mean by that?
So, this is kind of an esoteric answer. I like to say that this isn't culture war, this is cosmic war. And of course, that's just like a strange way of saying that what we're dealing with here is less there are people and there are machines and there are things that are trying to take away our freedoms. It's more things of the spirit. It's things in our own spirits that are being pulled on and that are being influenced, and what could be called, I guess, self-censorship. It means that we ourselves no longer have interest in talking about certain things. We no longer have an interest in the truth. There's a verse in one of the prophets where it says truth has fallen in the streets. And I always found that to be just like a fun, but also really like sad metaphor where the truth is kind of out there on the streets and people just walk over it and they don't value it. It's fallen down and no one will pick it up. That's something that's not coming because people who want to control you by hard power, by taking away your phone and by monitoring your communications. They have certainly tried. They're going to try again, but we're actually seeing this begin to splinter. And what we saw during COVID failed spectacularly. at least in the aftermath. I mean, I'm not discounting or discrediting any kind of suffering that was caused there, but it was a war. It was a war for information, and you know, the masses who want access to the truth, I think, won. But it's then, what exactly now are we going to pursue with this freedom? That's always the question, I suppose, with these concepts like liberty and freedom, is like, what are you going to do with it once you get it? That's more what I mean by invisible forces, the things that are binding us together, the things that control ourselves, and our own sense of what's right and wrong, and what's true and false.
Yeah, that is a good point about especially during all the COVID hysteria and how people were getting information one way via the corporate press, like the CNNs and the MSNBCs of the world, and they were going, yeah, screw that. I'm going to find some other means of where I can maybe get a different viewpoint.
Yeah.
Or even, and not even just with the news, they were going to a doctor and they said, doctor, you should get your COVID vaccine. I was like, I don't know. I'm going to look and listen to another doctor, see what they say about it. So they were doing that.
Yeah.
And so I think in some ways, some people would say that free speech, as what this question is, do you think free speech in America is in serious peril? And you say no. There are people who, conservatives, libertarians, who would probably disagree with that and say, well, I mean, you see people getting banned off of social platforms and everything like that. So they're kind of seeing it in that avenue. So, well, I'm not able to say anything now on Twitter, or I got banned off of Instagram because whatever. I put a picture on there and then Instagram didn't like it or something like that. Would you consider that part of the equation, or is that something that's not, like, that's a lesser offense?
This is what I mean about policing, right? So, like, let's just take it at like a societal level and then kind of draw a parallel. If you have a system, well, let's start. If you have a society, as in a group of people where it's high trust, people have the same values, they kind of share the same interests, there is no violence that is being committed among them. I mean, this is part of the lie of communism, right? Is that we can actually achieve this on this mass scale because it's achievable on a very small scale. I mean, typically most families shouldn't be stealing from each other and killing each other and whatnot. Because okay, you all like live together, and it's this small enough circle of trust that you're able to have this high trust system where you don't need a bunch of like policing. You don't need like a system where and look, much of libertarianism is actually based on this, right? That we don't need police to be telling us what to do about all this stuff. And to a degree, on like a small scale, that's true. And once this starts to scale, once people start to enter into the equation who do not have those values, who are not working towards the same things, you don't have much in common with them in terms of like I mean, it's easy to say life goals, but it is more like civilizational goals. Okay, you now need to find a system that is going to be policed in order to keep people from killing each other, from kind of breaking out into anarchy. Once the policing starts to fail, and see, like, nobody will deny that, oh hey, like I don't want to see porn showing up on my feed all the time. But when policing becomes, I'm going to keep information from you that I believe might be hurtful or harmful information from you. See, now you're policing minutia. Now you're getting into areas where in a higher trust society, people should be allowed to decide for themselves these type of things. They should be able to digest information from different sources. They should be presented with the truth as much as they can find it, and then decide for themselves in their own mind using their own critical thinking skills. And so a lot of the bannings, a lot of the deplatformings are bad. I mean, we're like, let's make no mistake. Those aren't small things. Those are actually very big things. The demonetizing of people off of places like we're on right now, like YouTube, that's serious business. People's lives are affected by it. It's like rug pulling um, from people who have frankly done business with you and who have made you a lot of money. And now you are turning on them because they said something that might offend the sensibilities of either you or somebody who you're accountable to on the other side of this thinly veiled private public uh, partnership between these large tech corporations and the government. That's what we saw during COVID, and that's all wrong. And that's the type of stuff where I mean, people rose up. People decided we're going to do different things. We are going to build in parallel to this stuff. We're going to find new means of communicating. Elon Musk decided he was going to actually take a chunk out of the Leviathan himself. You know, that's how bad it got, where Musk had to actually go to that sort of length. So I'm not saying that none of these things matter. These things matter a lot, but judging by the response, there's actually quite a lot that people can still do. There's still quite a lot of agency that we have to stand up for ourselves, to find different ways of talking to each other, to find different ways of conducting business. This isn't some kind of totalitarian technocracy yet. In many ways, how easy it was to circumvent that stuff, how easy it was, and I'm not discounting, you know, things like Elon Musk buying Twitter, but like relatively speaking, I mean, no one had to fight a war. Nobody had to go bomb anybody. No one had to like, you know, that's what the 20th century was, right? If like you had to resolve something, you had to fight it out. Whereas this was all done relatively peacefully. That still shows quite a bit of leeway, and it frankly shows just how brittle that would be totalitarian technocracy is.
Yeah, that's interesting points that you're making. And so when you're talking about Elon Musk, for example, buying Twitter, not only him buying it, as he himself felt like, okay, maybe if I control Twitter, I mean, the whole thing when he was even beginning to do it, there were people flipping out. Like, if Elon Musk is the owner of Twitter, I'm out of here. And I remember the whole like lawsuits and all this other stuff, and it took a few months for it to actually go down. And of course, now he owns Twitter and renamed it X, but I mean, I'm still going to call it Twitter, Elon. I'm sorry. Um, but
Struggling too. Yeah.
yeah. But then another prime example of Twitter, just as we're talking about that, is Alex Jones was off of Twitter for I think about 5 or so years,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I mean, Elon himself at first was saying, "I am not reinstating Alex because of the whole Saint Hook thing. That's clear and cut. That's it." And then I'm not 100% sure what exactly changed his mind, but then he did tweet out a poll saying, "Hey, do you think Alex Jones should be welcomed back into Twitter?" Majority voted yes, and then so hey, majority voted yes. Now he's back on and tweeting and posting videos, doing what Alex Jones does, and
Yeah.
hey, that's awesome. Kudos to that.
By the fact, I mean, look, you're always going to need men of action. You're always going to need someone to take up the cause.
Yeah.
Because and I think what was just assumed for a long time, that people would just take this kind of creeping totalitarianism as just good. It's ultimately good for society because we want to be safe. Safety is the biggest thing, and just as long as we're safe, doesn't matter what type of freedom is taken from you, because safety, that's the primary goal here, and that's what underlies all these different attacks on what's really the American idea of freedom, the freedom to defend yourself. You can own a gun, and if someone comes at you, you can shoot that person. You can use deadly force under some circumstances. There's some people who are like, well, that it's you shouldn't be able to do that because it means that you have a gun, and then that's not safe. It's not safe to have, like, yes, I know it's not safe to have a gun. It's not safe to drive a car. It's not safe to fly an airplane. I mean, there's tons of things that aren't safe. And yes, there are some things that you're going to hear. There's going to be some ideas that you hear on the internet that may not be true, that may point you towards radicalization of one kind or the other. Look at how so many elements of society have adopted all sorts of psychoses based upon social media. Um, so it isn't saying that there's not danger. It's just saying that the 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 the, the freedoms to decide how you are going to navigate those dangers are more important than safety, because there's been a lot of wrong that's been done under the name of safety. I mean, maybe even
Yeah.
more than what has been done under the name of liberty.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And so one of the things that I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but that's kind of how I'm interpreting it. So maybe I'm wrong here, but when you're talking about kind of the like ideas and how everyone's kind of like you're saying, well, even if they're wrong, they're allowed to say it. So that's kind of the whole like what's that expression? The marketplace of ideas. I'm sure you've heard that one before, Andrew. The marketplace of ideas.
Yes.
So as someone who used to consider themselves a libertarian, now kind of consider himself just more of a right winger, I guess. I'm more right wing. I mean, there are right wing libertarians, but I don't even want to consider myself a libertarian. A lot of things have changed. COVID definitely changed my mind on some of that.
It was crazy how many supposed libertarians sold out. I was shocked.
Yeah. And we don't have to name institutions, but I think we know which ones we're talking about here. But it really kind of made me realize that, okay, so if there's these apparent libertarians who, I mean, I know the libertarians, they just don't want to come out with it. They just don't want to, it's like, being gay. I'm in the closet. I'm a closet libertarian. I just don't want to come out yet. I'm afraid or whatever. But then when all this stuff was happening, when all the 2020 things were going on,
now's the time to come out, guys.
Right. Well, what happened? There was like, oh, we should wear a mask. All right. How many, I don't know, at the beginning, 90% of the population, there was that 10% or maybe even fewer. I don't know. They're like, this is bullshit. Like, no, screw that. I'm going to live my life how I'm going to live. And yeah, the supposed libertarian said, yeah, just wear a mask. The libertarian case for getting the COVID vaccine. Okay, well, so you're basically saying what everyone else is saying. What is the difference? How am I going to look at that and go, you know what? These libertarians are making a good point. Why would I vote for a libertarian if I might as well just vote for a Democrat or Republican when they're basically saying the exact same thing, pretty much?
This idea that I mean, when like rubber meets the road, like what, who I will always look at people's actions. Like, what did you do when there was real danger? And what did you do in the face of evil is often a big marker. And I mean, like it was wild. I mean, I'm on the steering committee of this coalition of a bunch of like either vaccines skeptic or just like medical freedom organizations who are from all over the world. A lot of them are former Democrats. I'd like to say that like 2016 was the radicalizing moment for men, and 2020 was the radicalizing moment for women, because a lot of people was like, when you come after a woman's kids, that's just changing the game. When it's saying like, you must take this experimental drug, you must not ask questions, because if you ask questions, you're a dangerous right-wing conspiracy theorist. I mean, eventually those things start to wear off. The insults start to not mean what they used to back when we all didn't have such blatant suspension of belief that we were required to place upon ourselves in order to be considered part of polite society. Then when you then start to realize, okay, wait, I'm in the majority here. There's actually millions of people who are with me rather than, and this is actually quite a small minority of people who are trying to like push this on many others. People's inherent sense of self-determination kicks in at a certain point, I think for everybody, but especially people who have any framing in like this kind of like Anglo-American, like Western tradition, let's just call it Western Christian tradition, are people who value their independence. And like, it isn't just independence of no one can tell me what to do. It's my independence of being able to decide for myself what it is that I do. And it was encouraging to see how many Democrats were just like not a Democrat anymore. It was encouraging to see how many women were, which of course that's like the Democrats' main voting bloc. We kind of ignore that. It's mostly liberal women who vote Democrat, and that's how they stay in power. But like seeing how many just had reached their limit, they had, and then there's like all different things about like health and about food and about education, and that which just compounds on like the vaccine stuff, which is again, it's like signs of life. There's like, it isn't so much that the system was kind of working, it was like locking people down. Again, it was these invisible forces that people had told themselves for all this time, I am a moral person, I am a loving person, love is love, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not like that Alex Jones, and I'm not like that I'm not like those bad people. I'm not bad like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But then when it's like Donald Trump is for the vaccine and like you're
Right.
not,
Yeah.
it just presented so many interesting forks in the road, like mental forks in the road for people, where a lot of the personas got kind of blown up, and like that's great. I think we need more of that. We were kind of reaching this stage of like calcification, right? Where like then 2020 happens and it's just like Pandora's box. It's just like a fragmentation grenade that just kind of exploded. How people even saw themselves, just like how you're describing it.
Yeah.
Again, these are the invisible forces that need to be destroyed, not the hard systems, because frankly the systems are terrible. They don't work.
Yeah, it's like you said when Operation Warp Speed was going on. Man, Donald Trump and his administration, they were going hard at it, and those people who were anti-Trump, they were so anti-Trump, which is weird because they were right. It's like, oh, I'm not taking this. No, if Trump is taking that vaccine out and he's putting the no, I'm not taking that. And then once Joe Biden came into power, it was like a switch, like a light switch. It's like, oh, you know what? It's been a year. I think it's fine now. We should take it. Oh, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, those are nice people. Yeah, they must not have anything bad or anything like that. It's just, I mean, I don't know.
There's like no helping though, where it's like when you realize like how many people just have vested interests in going with one opinion or the other. And whether it's with Trump, whether it's with the Democrats, whether it's the old guard Republicans, I don't care who it is. Once you know that someone's not being intellectually honest, they lose all credibility. And the internet is big enough, you can find enough information places where nobody has a monopoly on a way of looking at something.
Yeah, especially with the internet nowadays, because maybe back when the internet wasn't a thing, all you had was what is Walter Cronkite saying? Oh, I guess that's it. That's who I'm getting my news from, is that guy right there.
Yeah.
For the most part, I'm sure there were newspapers and all stuff, but that was the evening news right there back in the day. Now it's, oh, this person on Twitter, I trust this guy more than what Senator so and so is saying in Kentucky. I don't know, some Democrats.
No. It's because like people like know that, okay, this guy's a politician. He has some kind of interest in saying this. Now, what we saw of course during COVID was this alliance, this kind of unholy alliance between the media and the government in many cases. And so that's why places like Medium, places like then Substack, when Medium basically shut down any kind of free dialogue on their platform, people go to Substack, people took to Twitter, people took to Telegram, and Rumble, and I mean you just name it. All these places started up because people realized that they were in cahoots with the government. Rather than speaking truth to power, they were trying to cozy up to power, and that's just kind of like betraying the American way of life. I mean, how we see ourselves. It's that, like, it's a government for us and by us, not one that tries to like control us. And like a company that starts to go in that direction loses the trust ultimately. Facebook still has not recovered. Facebook is after 2016 and all that it started to do to sort of change its algorithms, and try to influence like the Irish elections, for instance, and messing with the advertising and just all that, lost any remaining trust that it had by most of the people who were kind of using it as like a news or an information resource by the time 2020 hit. Because after that, it became, I mean, we're literally going to censor links. I mean, dude, the whole Hunter Biden thing, they literally were censoring the links in your direct messages. That's how bad it was. And when you say, that's crazy, it's like 1984, it's like, no, it's literally somebody who has a script. Remember when the when like that hacker got into the Twitter backend and was like God admin, and seeing like how all these little, it's somebody at a control switch. It was like seeing the Wizard of Oz. I'm the great and powerful Oz. Actually, no, you're just this little man behind the curtain, and I don't have to be part of your little game. I can go somewhere else. I can make my own thing. And like that, I mean, Facebook is just basically like a boomer graveyard now. And like that's like a testament, I think, to yeah, I mean, how we're not enslaved yet. Anyway,
not yet.
I belabored that point enough. It's not over yet. Don't think that we have lost.
Well, I think some people would say that the way to kind of get away from these select few people that have all this power, and we're not even talking about the president and vice president, we're talking about all, like you were saying, how all these groups and lawmakers and all the people that they talk to kind of be like, hey, you should do this in this bill. Okay, I'll do that for you. Yeah, sure. Those are the people that really have the power. And that's the important distinction here, is they have the power. I don't have any power to do. The only power I really have is to hope and pray that my representative will actually do what I want him to do. And that'll probably happen maybe 1 out of 10 times if I'm lucky. If it's the person that I actually have like some close relation to. Like if it's someone that, okay, they have a D next to their name, I'm probably going to guess maybe they're probably not going to do what I want them to do. But if they have an R next to their name, I might have a better chance. But even then,
they have a chance at least, right?
You still have to really fight hard. And there's people who are just like, you know what? I don't want to do that because I already know this whole thing is a failure. And I totally get that sentiment. However, what I'm trying to get at is the fact that you have to have people that are in power, that if you want something done, you have to have your people in there. You can't just have someone like a Janet Yellen manipulating the banking and all the currency and all that. You have to have someone that you like, put them in there. I don't know how that's going to happen. Whether it is,
Everybody is accountable to somebody. The whole thing about like,
yeah,
they're unaccountable, unelected bureaucrats. And I'm like, first of all, everybody is accountable to somebody. And it's
yeah,
just not you. And so
yeah, yeah. No, that's pretty much that's pretty much what I was trying to get. So moving on to the next one. So the second part, I'm not going to read that part, but we kind of did touch on it a little bit, was how there are a bunch of avenues of how people can get their points across. And you're kind of calling that creativity, so people can check that out. But we kind of did this touch on that a little bit there. But the next question that I wanted to get to, and your answer here is, do you see the emergence of artificial intelligence as a positive or negative, and why? And so you said that we're not being controlled yet, and some people do see AI as, well, once AI takes full control, that's it. Um, so your answer is that you see the emergence of AI as a positive. It will cheapen what needs to be discounted and raise the value of things that are rare. And the content I spoke of will become commonplace as it becomes easier to create and thus of little value. But good content, it will become highly prized. Yes, there will be plenty of ways that AI powered fill in the blank can optimize a business, a process, a lifestyle for time, profitability, whatever. But how to take these tools and apply them to specific situations, this strategic decision making, this human ability to critically assess and virtuously act, will be valued above all the tools themselves. It already is. So, now correct me if I'm wrong here. So like that first part, it will cheapen what needs to be discounted and raise the value of things that are rare. So just like a brief kind of dive in on that one. What do you think needs to be discounted, and what things that are rare need to be valued more?
I mean, anything that can be pornographied needs
Mhm.
to get even cheaper. It like the like the hyper realism, the hyper like I don't know how to describe this other than like dopaminization
Yeah.
of the internet. It like I mean it's like poison because kids get on this from the very earliest ages, and then they're just brought from one um just like fire hose of sludge to the next, which is like hyper tuned to give them dopamine shots 24 hours a day. And like there comes a point when it will be so prevalent, it will be so much that people will just have enough. That people will
Mm.
say, I want out of this. It's like an alcoholic. They either get to the point where they drink themselves to death, or they say, I can't live like this. And I want more people to get to the stage where they say, I can't live like this. I can't live my life off of a phone. I can't
Mm.
live my life through a computer screen. I can't live vicariously through my video games or through my pornography or through my influencers or through my news feed or through my Twitter account or anything like that. You have to live as a human being is meant to live, and we're just not meant to live like this. So then the things that are rare, having children,
Mm.
I mean, it's something that I've seen literally in 10 years go from something where it is an L to have kids to being a huge dub if you were able to convince somebody to have a kid with you. Um, and that's how it should be. People once they're surrounded by garbage, you eventually recognize the garbage and say, I want something more than this. Like that feeling needs to be awakened again in people. We can't be living in this in between where there's this pixelated veneer over our entire existence. and so the only way to get out of that, I believe, is for it to accelerate, and for it to just be like, let's just even just take like an economic example to just kind of round out this point. Moving to remote work is great, all right? Like, to work off of computers and to make money by communicating on these computers and by building things on these computers for consumption off of these screens and other, computers is great. Awesome. It's not for everybody. During COVID, everybody thought it was going to be for everybody. We can now work from home, still make great money, and work off of computers. And what they really thought by that was we're not actually going to work. And pretty soon, what usually happens in business, people look at the expenses and they see the profit and they say, okay, this isn't working out. And we don't need all these people, because the very high production people who are good at working on computers, making things on the computers for people who are using the computers, they get to stay. They will work remotely. Most of them already were. And then we're going to just pay them more so that they'll keep doing it for us. And so those jobs become better. Everyone else's jobs go away. So people then are faced with an existential question. Okay, I now no longer can work on a computer. I'm not going to be paid $100,000 or more salary being some, I don't know, product manager, customer success manager, or just, scores of these type of titles that you need basically like 2 or 3 people versus 200 people. So like AI is just accelerating that move. I mean, people realize that when we went remote, how many things actually could be automated, how many tools existed. There was a ton of innovation that happened during COVID in the tech sector that that was like finally brought into existence, even in my own client circles, where it's a bunch of conservative intellectuals. They went from like 2 people using Zoom to everybody using Zoom, for it becoming mass adopted almost overnight, because they had to. Yeah. So, okay, great. Now that people have to find other jobs, they have to find other things to do with their time, they start to realize, wait a minute, I don't even like working on a computer. I don't even like this. What am I doing? Selling software? What am I doing? Trying to help somebody pass numbers from one side of this spreadsheet to the other side of this spreadsheet, from one browser window to the next. I don't even like that. We then saw this revival, for instance, of interior design. People actually start to renovate their homes to the point where furniture and high quality goods for home repair, lumber. All this different stuff. Of course, you could say that there was supply chain issues and whatnot. But I'm saying to this day, it is a booming industry, mostly because a lot of women lost their jobs, or at least switched to some kind of part-time job, or by choice or by necessity or whatever, and then start to actually look at their homes and say, man, I can actually do more with this. And they then turn to these different hobbies, things that actually make for nice homes, nice communities, nice, cooking. If no one knows how to cook, we're going to lose all of our food memory. We're going to forget how to do certain recipes. We're going to just be, eating the slop that's served from us from fast food trials for the rest of our life. And who wants to do that? Whereas if people know how to cook and then put the time and the effort into it, things like, hey, I need better ingredients. How come our ingredients in the United States are awful, whereas when you go to Europe, they have great ingredients? And so all these things begin to unravel when you take your mind off of having to work on the screen, having to live on the screen, having to be nice for the Zoom camera. Right. People suddenly start to actually live, and everything gets better. That is where I see AI taking us. Get as many people off the screens as possible. Automate as much things on these things right here as possible so that only the people who really should be on these things are actually using these things. Everyone else is living life in the real world. Of course, there's going to be people who fall down the rabbit hole, who basically like love to be in the matrix. They say, feed me the bugs, put me in the pod. This is where I want to go. Tons of people they're already doing it. They say, you know what? I'm going to quit and I'm going to go on disability. I'm going to make up some reason why I'm on disability. I'm going to move to a blue state where I can get easier Medicaid and have all these different programs and whatnot. I'm a perfectly healthy person. I just don't want to work anymore. I want to sit, I want to play my video games, or I want to watch my porn or my Netflix shows and eat my pork rinds and rot away waiting for death to take me. Let those people go. AI them on their way.
So, how do you see AI influencing politics then? Because you really went on a deep dive on how it could influence the culture and how, like you were saying, I mean, let's just be real here. You're pretty much saying that women should be women and men should be men, and they don't have to worry about going on a computer.
Whoa, you're putting words in my mouth here, bro. I never said women should be women. What?
Don't live on a screen for 24/7. Now, nowadays, I mean, we have our phones, we have a computer, and like you were saying, people at work use Zoom, and that's how they communicate with everybody. That's great. Now this can also, and maybe I'm reaching here, but this could be like one of those high trust society things too, because you can live in a high trust society, right? But then if everybody is actually living and not just being on their phones all day, that could be another piece of the puzzle that, okay, I live in this community that everybody is living their life where you see, men are chopping wood and women are cooking and all this stuff. And I mean, that'd be great. But that's probably not going to happen within the next 5-10
Right.
years. That's not going to happen.
You might
Let's
be
just be real.
surprised, but right, yeah.
For the most part, I guess I should say, for the most part, it probably won't happen. Maybe in some small communities, or whatever, but New York
Yeah.
City, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
But okay, so like you ask about politics, right? And
Right.
politics is like the big question here, because you could have someone living in a pod and they can still vote, and they'll just
Oh,
vote
yeah.
for the person who makes the pod as comfortable as possible. They'll just vote for the person who makes the bugs, have just a little bit more, glucose and sodium and soybean oil, so that feels better to shove it down their gullet. And like, that's the danger of a democracy. This is why we're a republic. But yet you can have people who in a Republican government, can like vote for representatives who they can make themselves look however they want on the internet, and make their opponents look bad on the internet. But once people start to check out, people will value the ground game more. People will value smaller government. They will value the people who live in their districts. Look, I've worked on like national campaigns. People running for Congress, people running for the Senate, and in a consultative capacity, not like actually on the campaigns. I'm not like that kind of guy. And the grassroots meetings, the ones where they go out and they actually meet with their constituents, those are the best. Those are what makes me like a candidate or dislike a candidate. So whether it was Latham Sadler in the Georgia race, he's just such an affable guy, and he actually cared about the people of his state. He lived there I mean, Navy SEAL officer. I mean, just a great guy, who just connected with his constituents a lot. But because Herschel Walker, has the name ID and he's backed by Trump, and
Yeah.
they have a lot of money to spend on all the ads and everything. He loses in the primary, to the point where afterwards, people on Fox were like, "Oh, geez, maybe Latham Saller would have been a better choice for this one." But it's so it's like the example there is, people will start to value people who they can see. They will start to value people who they have met themselves and who they feel like they have access to. It's like what you're saying, right? Like, how do I even interact, or how do I make sure that these people are acting within my interest if I'm not one of the people who they're accountable to? You will look for people who will be accountable to you. Those are your local representatives. That's like the mayor of your town, your state reps. So like this year, I am working, not doing any national races right now at least, but doing a state Senate race for my own district, Texas 30. And for a Texas state senator, and it's a friend of mine. It's someone who I know. It's someone who I trust. It feels awesome. It feels so good to be like, I actually want this person to represent me. I actually know this person and have pushed this person to do this. And they're kind of, they took it prayerfully and carefully. And then the friends and the family and the people who acknowledge that this man is of good reputation all back him, because we feel that connection to him and we want him to represent us. And now we want others to see the same person that we see. And he goes to grassroots meetings and people love him. They're, wow, awesome. This is who we want to represent us. That's the type of stuff that can happen if we disconnect from the screens, if we can automate our way off of the screens. Because like this guy, James Poulos, said at this recent sort of Claremont Fellows Summit, he said, because we were just people talking, and at these summits they kind of talk about what Claremont's talking points, the strategy, like what should we be thinking about. Basically, it isn't really talking points, it's more like thinking points, if that makes sense. And he was just as we're trying to talk about, well, people are just illiterate when it comes to civics and civic education and all this different stuff, and then he's just like, it's because we have these, and then just holds up his phone, and he's just like, we can't do America on these. And I think he's right. And so just the fastest way to get away from those is by making them irrelevant. And there's not like an EMP strike, because we actually need them. We actually need them to function in all the ways that they're beneficial. It's just, we shouldn't live off of them. We shouldn't live in front of them.
It's like you have to have some kind of a balance, like you can use your phone for, oh, I gotta call somebody real quick because it's important, stuff
Right.
like that. But then because you see people on the street, they're just walking, like doing that, and I'm like, you can't
tear their face away from it.
You can just walk down the street, put your phone in your pocket, and at least go to the street for your car. And maybe when you're in your car, then I guess you can go in your phone, because you're not possibly gonna bump into somebody. You know what I mean? It's so stupid.
Same thing with people not being able to go anywhere, eat anything, do anything with your kids without. And this is why before we started recording, we were talking about Instagram, right? And it's just like, you can't live in front of your phone. And of course, when we think of that, we think of some kind of white girl influencer. But we're at the point now where it's like people will record themselves being a public disturbance, pranking people, which basically means harassing them and disturbing the peace, committing crimes, committing sometimes atrocities, all live streamed, so that people will pay attention to them. Look at how many of these mass like murderers who
Yeah.
like all wanted to live stream it, all wanted to make sure that some record of what they had done and why they had done it was on the internet. It's because they know people are looking at it. But if you know people are checked out from this, it's like Facebook, right? I consult different people on, you know, where they should kind of train their some often limited firepower in terms of producing content. What platform should I go on? And for the most part, for most people, it can't be Facebook. Even if they were like, yeah, we used to be on Facebook a lot, but just there's just no more engagement. It just people aren't seeing my stuff and no one's clicking on anything, and we don't really know what to do. And imagine just all of social media is like that. Imagine just people are like, I'm not getting my dopamine anymore. Wouldn't that be great? Be great.
Everybody go to Mastodon. Nothing's happening over there.
No, but like let's say literally everywhere except for certain platforms, they're experiencing this drop in engagement, and it's like so many times. And again, we're talking about AI here. If AI becomes to the point where people can literally like generate in real time, practically, like canned statements and generate selfies of themselves and like filter things and like pull up facts and whatever, like all these things, all these activities that used to be the fun things to do on social media, which was like flirt, argue, joke, all that's gonna go. Like nothing's gonna be fun like that anymore because like everything it's just bots talking to each other. Who wants that?
Yeah, and just to kind of go back to something you had said before about how you are consulting a friend of yours running for a state representative position there where you're at. That also kind of goes along with what I was saying with where you want the people in power that you know, because if your friend, like say they win and they do something that you don't like, you're going to let them know, hey, I didn't like what you voted for such and such. I didn't like that. So I still my trust kind of broke a little bit after that. So now I used to be 100%. Now it's 85%. So you better watch out, because the more I distrust you, the more you're out of here. Like, you're more susceptible to do that as opposed to someone you don't know, because I mean, yeah, you don't like them, whatever, and you can trust them and all that. But if it's like a friend, like an actual person you've known for a while, a long time, then that's like a much painful type of a distrust if that does happen. So that's kind of, I just wanted to make that point on that regard.
I think you're totally right though, dude. Like this is the way that America was supposed to be. You were supposed to have personal connections with your representatives. You were supposed to there was this feeling of like voting as a community rather than just voting purely as like an individual. It was like voting as a family. You know, unintended consequences of different amendments to the Constitution, and here we go. Like the woman's right to vote. Suddenly it became, well, now it's 2 votes rather than 1 vote. It means that like you're like not having to talk about these things in order to like reach a joint decision. You both have your own vote, and so whatever you feel like is good and great, well then that's what you get. It's the same thing with having fewer representatives. It's the same thing with like not actually having a true electoral college system like was intended by the founders. It's you actually have less representation when you have more democracy. If there is such a thing as too much democracy, because then you actually lose the representative power that comes through a classical republic, which is what the founders drew up the United States to be.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I was gonna go into that, talking about how like one of the questions and answers was how how conservatives and just people in general should view the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And I was kind of thinking about that, where like if it was just today, if it was just only the first 10 amendments and that was it, nothing had been changed, nothing had been added on, all the 26 or however many, I don't know, 57 amendments there are now, I don't know. If it was just the first 10, would we still be where we are now? Because you can make an argument that the Constitution as it is now with the added amendments kind of got us to where we are now, both the good and the bad, like a lot of the bad. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the people saying that, I don't know how serious they are. I'm sure they are. But it's also sort of like a kind of a joke, but serious again, like I'm saying, like how they should repeal the 19th Amendment, like you're saying, women's right to vote. I mean, if that was taken out, would women be like, okay, so if I want to vote now, I have to get married, and then I have to have a kid if I want to have, so maybe that would take that out. Then they can actually start, oh, you know what? We should have babies instead of me trying to
But like, and like, look, these truly are trade-offs. It isn't the only reason, but it certainly factors into it.
Yeah.
And this is what laws do. Okay, like laws change the way that people think about stuff. Crazy statistic. Just as an example, like a small example. There's all these heartbeat bills, right, that went into effect once Roe versus Wade, it's Roe v. Wade, was overturned. Texas was one of them. It's been now almost a year where abortion has been illegal outright in Texas. Not allowed to get an abortion, as in like there's a baby in you, you can't cut the baby out or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? You just can't do it. There's been like 34 cases a whole year in Texas, down from like tens of thousands last year.
Wow.
So, and they were like, none of these cases either happened early or they were infrequent, and none of them have been prosecuted. There's like no teeth to the law, right? It's like there's like no enforcement mechanism that's being deployed yet about this law. But people having the law that just says you're not allowed to kill your baby. They don't kill their baby just because there's a law that says so. Went from tens of thousands to like a couple dozen in a year. Literally like a flip of the switch. So laws have this way of kind of, it isn't the only way, but like the more laws you have, the more you're trying to directly influence behavior that should come naturally. Okay, people should naturally want to get married and to procreate. That is and then keep their creation. Keep their raise it and like continue on their line and grow as a human being as they watch this other human being grow. That is natural. Everyone should feel that way. Now, you can't really make laws where you're like, you must have babies. Because to make such a ridiculous law, it's like, shouldn't you just want that? I mean, it would be considered to be ridiculous because it's already by nature something that should come intrinsically. When people no longer have, when the law is trying to more and more make some behavior, it's like naturally speaking, hey, you should respect women and you should treat them as you would treat yourself. Actually, you should even treat them better in many cases than you would treat yourself. You as the man, you are naturally stronger, which again, a controversial statement, but it's just true. And thus you should try to protect women from physical danger. See, that is something that is natural. Now, there's a law that said men must protect women from physical danger. Like, what kind of a stupid law is that? Now, if they said women are not allowed to be protected by men from physical danger, we'd say, well, that's kind of strange. Why would you, and then men would then stop protecting women because it's against the law. Because I could actually get in trouble. Check out Daniel Penny in New York City. There's a guy going crazy on the subway with a knife or whatever's going on. He intervenes. The guy like dies while he is being restrained. All right. So now Daniel Penny is prosecuted. Daniel Penny is in jail. What message does that send to other people when they see something happening? People say, they just walked right by. They walked right by while that woman was being assaulted. I can't believe people these days, And it's almost always targeted at men.
Yeah.
It's like how much cops have backed off of not making traffic stops. And so then deaths, like traffic fatalities have skyrocketed since all like the videos of the traffic stops with cops have gone up. Why? You're demotivating people from natural actions. Hey, that car kind of looks suspicious. It matches, generally speaking, some other person who has done something wrong. Let me go check it out. I mean, again, this is just natural. If that becomes criminal, if that becomes not allowed, you are motivating the wrong people and you're demotivating the right people. And that's a lot of what very well-meaning additions, I think, to the Constitution led to. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that it's like completely bad. It just means it goes way beyond what the First Amendments were supposed to do, which is just set down, hey, these are like the natural. These are the natural rights that we see as being like for everyone. Like every person who is an American gets these things. Once it started to get into the minutia, once you have to start to police minutia, you get all sorts of unintended consequences. And that's just all there is to it.
Well, Andrew, we'll end it there. Let people know where they can find you on social media and where they can find your work and anything else you'd like to plug.
Yeah, please don't find me on social media as I just like trash the Constitution.
Right.
I certainly don't mean to. I actually love the Constitution, just FYI. And I think that what makes the Constitution, as in those first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, so great is because it actually worked. And these things do work. And these things are built after a long history of people experimenting with government. And we experimented some more, and we experimented by adding a lot of new amendments on it, and we're just living with the results of those experimentations, good or bad. And so the beauty of the Constitution is that it can be changed. We added, one of my favorite amendments was banning alcohol. I thought that was a great amendment. A lot of people didn't think so, and so they had to come up with another one to unban alcohol.
Crazy.
But you know what? That's okay, because maybe, just maybe, I will introduce another amendment to again ban alcohol. and like that's what makes America great, because we are still experimenting with it. I just hope we can just give ourselves and everyone else that we're with a degree of mercy and patience as we continue with the experimentation.
Well, Andrew, I really appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah, man. Really like talking with you. Always stoop to extremist statements.
Yeah, you can say as extremist stuff as you want. I don't care.
That's all right. It's like we're all among friends ultimately.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, it was great. Merry Christmas. Hope you are doing well. How do you like my festive display. This is all my wife, by the way. Like this is these like shelves like change with the seasons, and so right now we are in like Christmas cozy maxing season, and so
got some nice lights up there.
Oh yeah,
nice,
yeah, lights.
Some nice little lights up there.
Teapots and
yeah,
a little piece of branches. Yeah, shelves.
Yep. And I just have this, and maybe we'll change it at some point. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, you should like rotate it through. Like a don't tread on me flag. I mean, that's very on. No, never mind.
No,
that's over. That's pre-COVID.
Maybe the no step on snack one, the funny
no step on snack.
Yeah, the comic one. There you go.
Yeah, that's at least cute and ironic. I like that.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks again, Andrew, for coming on. I really appreciate it. And we might be back for the next one. Who knows? We'll see.
We shall see.
The truck's backing up because they're hearing us. I think it's time to end this episode.
And smash that like button.
Yeah, smash that like button.
Just break your computer.
And don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button.
Bye.
Okay, bye.